Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna start a new series, What If Naruto Chose the Path of Anti-Hero? Part 1. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
A very old man sighed inside the Hokage Tower, the tallest building in Konoha. He wore white robes and a red hat with the word fire written on the front. With an important piece of paper in one hand and a pen in the other, the man carefully looked over the paper before signing it at the bottom. The old man would sometimes look at the door as if he were waiting for someone to come in. Knock, knock. When the old man heard the doorbell, he smiled and set down the papers he was holding. He then put a paperweight on top of them to keep them from flying away. The old man said, "Come in," loudly enough for the person on the other side to hear. Kriok. The door opened with a groan and showed a ninja with a cat-shaped mask. The ninja's hair was brown and his skin was bronze. He was born with light skin, but going on many missions in the sun made his skin look like bronze. This ninja was a member of the ANBU, which is led by the Hokage. "Here is the baby you're looking for, Lord Hokage." The ANBU got down on his knees and carefully put the baby he was holding in a cradle made of wood. After putting the baby down, the ANBU didn't look at it again, neither out of curiosity nor out of care. As an ANBU, he can't question or be interested in what the Hokage does, asks for, or tells him to do. As his duty, he should only do what the Hokage tells him to do with loyalty and determination. The old man looked at the baby and then waved his hand to tell the ANBU, "Good work. You may go." After bowing to the old man, the Hokage, and saying, "Understood, Lord Hokage," the ANBU left, closing the door carefully so as not to wake the sleeping baby. Hiruzen kept looking at the door as the ANBU ninja closed it, and then he let out a long sigh. Then he looked over at the sleeping baby in the wooden cradle. The baby could sleep comfortably in the cradle because it had a white cushion and blankets. Hiruzen was happy, so he nodded his head and looked at the baby's hair. The baby's hair was a strange color. Each strand started out golden yellow but turned a deep crimson red as it grew and aged. When Hiruzen looked at the baby's hair, it made him think of the sun setting. It was a real beauty, but Hiruzen didn't have much time to admire it. He didn't do it because he didn't like the child. Because this child keeps the most powerful tailed beast in the world locked up. This child is the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tail, Minato. Hiruzen couldn't help but feel sad when he thought about Namikaze Minato, the fourth Hokage, and the father of the child. Why did a great young ninja have to die so soon? Even though Hiruzen said that, he knew that it was rare for a shinobi to live into old age. Such a thing can only be done with a lot of luck. No matter how skilled or powerful you are, if you don't have enough luck, you will die sooner rather than later. Hiruzen felt a headache coming on as he looked out the window. As the Hokage, he could decide what would happen to this child. But did he have the courage? Hiruzen wished for the first time that he wasn't the Hokage and didn't get to decide what would happen to his people. As the Jinchuriki of Konoha, Hiruzen had to make sure that the child in front of him could control the power of the Nine Tails, so he could act as a warning to the other big ninja villages or as a weapon for the village when the time came. But as a father, Hiruzen found it hard to make a child so young fit the role of a shinobi. Even though he knew it was nearly impossible, he wanted the child to have a normal, happy life. Sigh. For the first time in his life, Hiruzen couldn't decide what to do. He became the Hokage at a young age and was very wise when he was at his best, but now that he was old, he couldn't even make a simple decision about the village's best asset. Hashirama might have tried to make him feel better, but his sensei would definitely tell him off. What should I do? Should I give him to Danzo? Danzo has been looking for young talent lately, and his root shinobi has some promise. As he scratched his chin in search of insight, a sudden knock at the door woke him up from his dark thoughts. "Come on in, Lord Hokage." When the door opened, the young man with silver hair and a dog-shaped ANBU mask was there. "And you, what on earth brought you here?" Hiruzen felt guilty as he looked at the ninja who came into the office and knelt down. He was thinking about giving the boy to Danzo before this young ninja came in. Now that he was thinking about it again, he realized that doing so was a bad idea and would betray Minato's trust. How could I forget how evil Danzo was? "Lord Hokage, I need something from you." A request? That's unusual. ANBU ninjas wouldn't normally ask their Hokage for anything unless it was really important. For the ninja in front of him, it was even worse. "Go on, let me hear your request." "Lord Hokage, I want to adopt the fourth Hokage's son, Sensei." "Oh, Kakashi, who is always so serious, made a mistake. Is there going to be something today?" Hiruzen thought about Kakashi's request while internally scolding himself for not being able to stop the smirk that was about to appear on his old face. "I'm too old for this now. To think that I almost laughed when things were this bad. And you know full well that what you want can't be done. Even though I wish you could be his guardian. Hiruzen thought of something else, but he didn't tell the young Anbu. But, Kakashi began, but Hiruzen cut him off. Don't worry about the boy's safety, Hiruzen told the young ninja with a smile. I will make sure that the boy is safe. When Kakashi heard this, he was quiet for a while. Then, I'd like to thank the Hokage for being kind, he said, and then he bowed to the Hokage. Hiruzen looked at the red-haired baby and said, Amen, you can go. He had said this after seeing Kakashi leave. Pale lavender eyes looked right at him from inside the cradle, giving him chills and goosebumps. He thought the boy was judging everything he said, did, and thought, but he quickly got rid of the idea. About what am I going on? That is just a brand new baby. I'm too old and too tired to deal with this shite. After 4 years, a tall sandcastle was built in one of Konoha's public parks. It was 4 feet tall and had a lot of intricate details. If you forgot about the color of the sand and thought instead that it was made of stone and wood, the sandcastle would look like a real, small castle. One child built this castle, which looks very real. A child with red hair and eyes the color of lavender. The child was sitting on the sand and playing with a plastic bucket he had brought with him. Sigh. The boy sighed and threw the bucket, which happened to hit the castle and bring it down. When the boy saw what was going on, he scratched his head. He just finished making that boring sandcastle, and it fell apart right then and there. Fisk. The boy looked around because he was so bored. Even though there were no other kids around, he was used to it. When he went to the playground, all the parents and kids ran away quickly. He once asked them why they ran away, but all he got in response was a cold shoulder. Huh? Who is that? The boy's eyes were drawn to a man who was just standing around near a closed shop. When he looked at the man closely, he saw that he was a ninja. The ninja wore his head guard around his neck. His left hand was in his pocket, and his right hand was holding a small book with strange symbols. The ninja frowned and threw the book away all at once. The book landed on a light post nearby, and the ninja kept walking without looking back. Why did he just throw it away? The boy asked, wanting to know more. When he looked around, he saw that no one was there. He threw it away, so if I pick it up, it won't be theft, right? The boy walked toward the book on his toes and with his hands in his pockets, as if he were just taking a stroll. When he got close enough, he got down on his knees and picked up the book. Bark. When the dog barked, the boy's soul flew to the clouds and then back to his body. The boy ran as fast as he could back to his apartment, holding the book tight in his hands. After closing the door, the boy opened the book and started to read. Wow, what is this? It's so cool and easy to understand. Why did that ninja throw it away? The boy closed the book and turned it over so he could read the cover. The boy, Uzumaki Naruto, tilted his head and read out loud, The Art of Fuinjutsu. Naruto sat on a wooden chair with his legs crossed and his eyes on the pages of a book. The cover of the book was crimson red and had a whirlpool pattern that went all the way around the book. In big letters in the middle, it says The Art of Fuinjutsu. It's been 2 days since that careless ninja gave him this book. Since then, he couldn't get enough of reading. He read the whole book in 1 day, but he couldn't put it down and kept reading it over and over again. He would always have the book with him, even when he was outside or in the bathroom. Naruto said, "Iya," in a girlish voice as he hugged the book like it was his long-lost brother. Fuinjutsu is so awesome. Flip, flip, flip. Naruto's eyes sparkled with joy as he turned the pages one after the other. He had read the book so many times that he could now recite it all by heart. The book The Art of Fuinjutsu talked about the basics of Fuinjutsu. Things like the special ink and paper needed, basic patterns in Fuinjutsu, and common roadblocks in Fuinjutsu were carefully explained in detail to make it easier to understand. But most people still didn't get it. This difficult literature will only be read by people who are good at or interested in Fuinjutsu. The book also talked about how things and people can be sealed into other things or people. There was even a chapter about 2 sealing masters who could seal the consciousness of a living person into another person, and another who could disable a body part of someone just by touching it. Naruto didn't know much about chakra. I wish I could make seals, but I don't know what chakra is. He only knew that chakra is used to make ninjutsu, that ninjas use them, and that people need chakra to live. I wonder if there are books about chakra in the library, but the librarians always kicked me out. As soon as he finished the sentence, his head dropped, sadness crept into his eyes, and his smile turned into a frown. And no, maybe there's a library that wouldn't kick me out. Naruto stood up after convincing himself. Crackle. When Naruto stood up, he heard something fall. When he looked down, he saw that paper wrappers were everywhere. While he was reading, he ate some snacks that were wrapped in paper. After a while, he forgot about it and only remembered it now. Oh, what a jumble. Thud, thud, thud. Naruto ran to the corner near the door, grabbed a broom and a dustpan, and swept the floor clean. When he was done, he put the trash in the trash can. When Naruto was about to turn the doorknob, he saw something red out of the corner of his eye. Naruto squinted his eyes and looked in its direction to see that it was his coin purse. He picked it up and, with a pop, opened the wallet. Naruto frowned and dumped the coins from his coin purse onto the table. Tack, tack, tack. Naruto rubbed his eyes and counted how many coins fell out of the coin purse. 2 and 11. Really? Only 2 silver coins and 11 bronze coins. There are 50 bronze coins for every 1 silver coin. Most of the time, living costs for 3 days cost 1 silver coin or 50 bronze coins. It's still the middle of August, what should I do? Naruto rubbed his head to try to think of a good idea. After putting the coins back in the coin purse, he had a great idea and tucked the purse into his pants. Naruto left his house and went to the library that was closest to him. With the garden around it, the brown paint on the library made it look clean. Naruto walked around carefully and looked for the books he was looking for after entering through the dark wooden door. It didn't take long for his nervous frown to turn into a small smile, and his eyes to shine like stars in the night. When Naruto got to the shelf that said number 301, he took out 2 books that were as big as his head. Heavy. Naruto walked around the library with the 2 books in his arms, looking for an empty seat. There. Why is it in a room, though? When he looked over the door, he saw a label that looked like the one over the bookshelf. Number 9, is there more? When he looked to the left, he saw 8 more rooms, all of which had closed doors to show that other people were in them. I guess this one will do. He put the 2 books down when he walked into the room and was about to close the door when someone called out to him. Hey. When Naruto heard the deep, quiet, but firm voice, he jerked back. Oh no, will they throw me out? I finally found the books I was looking for. Naruto turned to the man who had called him and said, sir, that's a private room, and you have to pay to stay there. 1 day costs 1 silver coin, and snacks are free. Are you going to rent the room? They won't kick me out, right? When Naruto heard what the man said, he reached for his pocket before stopping. 1 silver coin. 1 coin of silver. When the librarian saw Naruto's uncertain expression, he adjusted his glasses and narrowed his eyes. Yes, 1 silver. The room is quiet so the readers aren't bothered, and the library provides snacks. There is a limit to the free snacks, but you can pay more if you want more snacks. Wow, there are snacks for free. I guess it's a deal for food, since it only costs 1 silver. 1 silver. Damn, I forgot about that. As he cried rivers of blood in his head, he pulled out a silver coin and gave it to the librarian. Amen. The librarian scratched his head as he looked at Naruto's angry face. Then, you can write your name here and sign. Then, he gave Naruto a piece of paper. After Naruto wrote his name and signed, the librarian smiled and told him, by the way, the hours are only counted when you are inside the library, so you can spend 10 hours here today and come back tomorrow and still have 14 hours. Naruto sat down and opened the first book after the librarian left. The name of the book was The Origins of Chakra, and a Senju wrote it. Naruto knew what the rest of the book was about after reading the first few pages. So far, it has explained where chakra came from, how to make chakra appear, and how chakra develops inside the human body. After 30 minutes, Naruto's eyes begged him to stop reading the hard book he was trying to understand. I've read half the book in 30 minutes. I should take a break. From what I've learned so far, a person is born with just enough chakra to live. At age 3, the chakra system starts to take shape, and by age 4, a simple chakra system has formed. By the time a person is 10 to 15, their chakra system will be fully developed, and it will be hard to make their chakras bigger. Slurp, snap, crunch. After drinking a cup of juice and eating a plate of biscuits, Naruto picked up the second book called Chakra and its Uses and started to read. 5 minutes later, Naruto realized that chakra and its uses was much simpler and easier to read than The Origins of Chakra, even though it was longer. Naruto didn't recognize the name of the author, so he guessed that the person who wrote the book wasn't from a major clan. After half an hour, Naruto put the book down and sighed. 10 minutes ago, he finished reading the book, but he decided to read it again to make sure he didn't forget anything. The first book said that it is hard to increase the capacity of the chakras after the chakra system is fully developed. But the second book says that there are special ways to keep improving both the chakra system and the capacity of the chakras. It even had something to do with the Uzumaki family. Do I belong to that group? Even so, my last name is Uzumaki. Before he picked up the first book, Naruto drank the last cup of juice and ate the cookies that were brought to him 5 minutes ago. I should leave after this. I shouldn't let any of that one silver go to waste. As he had said he would, Naruto finished reading both books after 40 minutes. Yawn. That was hard. Even though the last half of the first book took 10 minutes longer than the first half, I still managed to finish it. When I get home, I'll work on controlling my chakras. I should be able to use some of my chakra now that I'm 4 years old. When Naruto stood up, he gave the 2 books another hug and put them back on bookshelf number 301. Just as Naruto opened the door to leave, he looked over at the librarian and saw that he was reading a small orange book while sipping a cup of tea. I wonder what book he's reading. After Naruto left, the librarian stopped looking at the small orange book and started looking at the door. Sayup. He put the book down, took a sip of his tea, and thought, so that's the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. I heard that he is a violent monster who brings bad luck wherever he goes, but that doesn't seem to be true. How can such a sweet kid be such a bad person? Sad to say, only fools would believe such lies. After he sighed, he pulled out a record book and turned the pages until he found Naruto's name. Naruto Uzumaki, about 2 hours. Since it's his first time, I'll take 30 minutes off, so he was in the private room for a total of 1 hour and 30 minutes. Scribble. After writing 130 next to the 24-0 under Naruto's name, he closed the record book and put it under his desk. Then, he opened the small orange book and laughed in a strange way. Ha, ha, ha. A young boy sat on a chair in the middle of the room. His hair was stuck to his forehead, and his back was wet with sweat. It was hard for him to breathe, and his throat felt dry. It felt like he hadn't had anything to drink in a whole year. Erg. All of a sudden, the boy leaned forward and fell off the chair, covering his mouth with one hand. Gulp. With his eyes shaking, the boy swallowed whatever was about to come out of his mouth, used his other hand to help him stand up, and leaned against the wall as he did so. The boy thought, I should have paid more attention. Naruto walked around the village after leaving the library, and before going home. He didn't want to see the whole village, no way. He didn't like to walk around the village. He walked all over the village just to find a store that sold ink and paper. In the end, he didn't find any, but that didn't make him sad. Since there are no stores here that sell ink and paper, I'll have to look in other parts of the village. When Naruto got back to his apartment, the first thing he did was lie down in his bed. So, tired, Naruto forgot about his stomach rumbling and gave in to his fate. He closed his heavy eyelids and went to sleep town. Back at the library, Naruto spent a lot of time reading, which made him tired. After walking around the village, he couldn't take it any longer and fell asleep until morning. Yawn. Naruto made breakfast while he was standing up. Eggs, bread, and a glass of milk are all you need for breakfast today. Naruto sat down on a chair and looked at the clock on the wall. It said 8:20. Crunch. Naruto thought about the books he had read the day before as he crunched on the toast he had just toasted. According to what I read yesterday, I should be able to feel my chakra because I already have the beginnings of a chakra system. Naruto drank the glass of milk and then used a broom to clean the floor and wash the dishes and tools he had used. After that, he got a rug out from under his bed and put it on the floor. After locking the door and shutting the windows, Naruto smiled and patted his shoulders to get rid of the dust he imagined was there. He then sat down on the rug. Finally, I can start working out. This brings me one step closer to my goal of learning Fuinjutsu. Naruto closed his eyes and took a few deep breaths while grinning to calm down. Ha. After a few minutes, Naruto felt calm enough to try to feel his chakra. Oops, I don't know how to feel chakra. After some trial and error, Naruto finally figured out that the warm feeling inside him was his chakra. Naruto focused on how it made him feel. So shiny. Naruto kept feeling his chakra to get used to it and fight off the urge to open his eyes. I didn't know chakra could be so bright and intense, like fire, but it doesn't hurt. It even feels a little warm. Is this how ninjas always feel? I'm not sure how big or small my chakra is. After a while of feeling his chakra, Naruto came out of his trance and remembered why he was there. Right, the first step in controlling chakras is to let the body get used to chakras moving. To do that, I need to move my chakra all over my body. Chakra naturally moves in a clockwise direction, so I guess I have to move my chakra in a clockwise direction. Based on what he thought, Naruto started moving his chakra through his whole body, from his head to his torso to his arms and legs, and his arms and legs back to his torso and head. When Naruto did the same thing over and over again, he couldn't stop the corner of his mouth from turning up. This isn't as hard as I thought. At most, a person's chakra system would be fully grown at age 10. Most regular people would awaken their chakra system at age 4 and have it fully developed by age 6 or 8. On the other hand, children from shinobi clans would awaken their chakra system when they were 4 years old, and it would be fully developed by the time they were 14 or 15. They did this to take full advantage of how their chakra system naturally developed by delaying it. If a child from a shinobi clan doesn't train like Naruto does, their chakra system will be fully grown by the time they are 12 or 13. By delaying it with chakra exercises that stimulate the chakra system, they could develop their chakra systems over a longer period of time, which would make their chakra systems work better and raise their chakra level. Since Naruto is from the Uzumaki clan and his father was a genius with a high chakra level, even though he was a civilian and not part of a clan, Naruto has a huge chakra level, and he is also the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Because his chakra level was so high, it was easier for him to do the exercise he was doing. Controlling small amounts of chakra is hard when you have a lot of chakra, but Naruto has no trouble controlling a lot of chakra. Naruto opened his eyes after he had moved his chakra 100 times. Water. I need water. Naruto ran to the sink and drank every drop of water that came out of the faucet like he had been stuck in the desert for a week without water. Naruto started to shiver after he drank a lot of water. When Naruto touched his arms, he felt that they were wet and a little sticky. When he looked at himself, he saw that he was drenched in sweat, and that his clothes were stuck to him. His hair was now stuck to his head like a dead plant. Naruto had no other choice, so he chose a clean set of clothes and took a bath. After 15 minutes, he came out of the bathroom. Grumble. After taking a bath, Naruto suddenly felt hungry. But I just ate breakfast. Naruto looked at the wall clock and blinked. Oh, 1 o'clock. Naruto felt like something was wrong and rubbed his eyes. 1 o'clock. Does the clock not work? Naruto shook his head and walked to the windows to open them. Kriok. Naruto had to squint his eyes to see the bright sun. When Naruto looked up at the sky, his eyes got as big as dinner plates. Is it really 1 o'clock in the afternoon? The clock wasn't broken, was it? Naruto asked as he closed the windows and went back to the carpet he had laid out on the floor to sit down. When Naruto put his hand on the carpet, he cringed. Thank goodness I didn't sit down right away, because when I put my hands on it, it was dripping wet. Is it all because of my sweat? No wonder I felt dehydrated after opening my eyes. Naruto felt his chakra as he stood up and shook his head. His frown finally turned into a smile. The exercise seems to have worked. Now, it's easier for my chakra to move, but I should eat first before I keep training. I don't have anything to do anyway, and nothing gets done well when you're hungry. After lunch, Naruto took the rug off the floor and put a spare one there. Then he sat down with his eyes closed. Naruto thought as he moved his chakra around his body. According to the art of Fuinjutsu, the most important thing you need to be able to do to make seals is to be able to let a steady stream of chakra flow from your fingers and palm. Also, the chakra must be calm and stable, or else it would make a weak seal. Naruto controlled his chakra and let it out of his right palm, which was stretched out in front of him with the palm facing up. Did it work? When Naruto opened his eyes, he was surprised to find nothing on his palm. I can tell that chakra is coming out of my palms, Naruto said. He nodded his head to show that he understood. He realized that the chakra output was too low, which was why the chakra wasn't visible. I need to be able to see the chakra. The art of Fuinjutsu said that I can't make seals if the chakra isn't visible. By focusing, Naruto was able to make more chakra. Oh, that hurts. Naruto felt a sharp pain on his hand all of a sudden. When he looked at his palm, he saw a small wound in the shape of a circle that was bleeding. Did I hurt myself because I used too much chakra? When you use chakra control, the book didn't say anything about hidden risks. The water poured over Naruto's right hand, carrying with it the blood that was coming from the circular wound on his palm that was about the size of a thumb. Oh, I'm in pain. Thank goodness the cut was small, so it hurt less. Naruto took a white bandage out of the red box with a white cross in the middle and wrapped it around his hand to keep dirt from getting into the wound. Naruto let out a sigh of relief when the bandage was securely wrapped around his hand. He didn't know that you could hurt yourself with your own chakra, but he should have known. Ninjas use chakra to do ninjutsu, so it made sense that it could be dangerous to handle it without being careful. Naruto thought, the next time I go to the library, I'll look for books that explain how dangerous chakra can be. He was upset that the books he had read before, The Origins of Chakra and its Uses, didn't tell him about the dangers of doing chakra control exercises. After making sure the cut on his palm wasn't bleeding anymore, Naruto sat down on the rug he had put on the floor. Naruto put his hand to his chin and thought about how he had hurt himself. Perhaps my body is still not used to letting go of so much chakra at once, which is why the place where I let go of the chakra has a thumb-sized wound. Then, the answer is easy. I just need to release my chakra more slowly instead of all at once. So, not only would my body get used to releasing chakra, but I would also know when to stop and not hurt myself. But what if that's not the case? Naruto closed his eyes and put his chakra in his left hand. I suppose I'll find out. This time, instead of letting out a lot of chakra all at once, he let out a steady stream of chakra, which kept getting stronger every second. When Naruto felt a breeze blow by, he opened his eyes and smiled. At last, it worked. There was a group of blue chakra on his palm. The chakra filled up his whole hand and jumped up and down like boiling water. Naruto moved his hand to the side as he frowned. As soon as he moved his hand even a little bit, the chakra on his palm broke up and his hand went numb. Is the chakra out of balance? He was thinking. With his teeth clenched, Naruto once again let out a steady flow of chakra. He didn't close his eyes this time. Naruto's eyes sparkled and his excitement grew as chakra covered his hand. Can I add more chakra? Naruto thought this, so he used more chakra. As the chakra flow got stronger, the chakra on his palm started to shake and spike, but it didn't grow. His forehead was wet, but he didn't wipe it off. Instead, he only thought about keeping the chakra on his palm. No matter how much chakra he added, though, the amount of chakra on his palm didn't change. Instead, whenever more chakra was added, it spread out into the air with a sizzling sound, like when water evaporates when it hits a hot surface. It's getting warmer. As he put out more chakra, the chakra on his palm started to heat up, making his hand feel like it was on fire. Naruto took a deep breath and kept the chakra on his palm instead of letting it spread out. If I can't handle this, forget Fuinjutsu, I won't even be able to control chakra. Endure. His thoughts were easy to understand. He wanted to keep going through the pain so that his body would get used to it and adjust, like how your body gets stronger the more you train it. He could feel his hand going numb as he held the unstable chakra on his palm. His arm felt weak and heavy, as if it was giving all its power to his hand to keep the chakra output going. After 30 minutes, drop by drop, sweat fell from his head. Naruto took deep breaths because he was out of air. After a few seconds, his heart stopped beating so fast. Naruto used his right hand to grab a cup of water, which he drank all at once. After keeping the chakra on his palm for 30 minutes, Naruto could hardly feel his left hand. From his wrist to his shoulder, his left arm felt heavy and numb. When he looked closely, he saw that his left hand was trembling very badly. Naruto clenched his hand into a fist to try to stop it. But when he tried to move a finger on his left hand, he found he couldn't. He couldn't even make his fingers move, let alone close the door. And no way. Naruto touched his left hand with his right hand to make it close. Naruto wasn't ready for the sharp pain, so he fell to the ground with tears in the corners of his eyes. When Naruto's right hand touched his left hand, it felt like a hot knife had been stuck into it. What's going on? Not knowing what to do, Naruto held his left wrist instead of his hand and waited until he could feel his hand again. After 10 minutes, he was able to move his hand again. This time, though, his whole left hand felt like it was being eaten by a million ants. Naruto bit his teeth and fought the urge to touch his hand so he wouldn't make it hurt more. After another 10 minutes, the feeling went away, and Naruto could move his left hand freely again. That was really scary. I thought my left hand would never move again. Naruto felt cold. Naruto made a fist with his hand and then opened it back up. He was glad that nothing unexpected had happened. Naruto looked at the clock and saw that he still had some time before he had to go to bed. Let's see, Naruto said as he let go of the chakra in his left hand. He watched as the blue chakra covered his palm again, but this time it was calmer. Naruto smiled and waved his left hand around. The chakra didn't lose all of its power. When I move my hand, some chakra still goes away, but most of it stays. If I keep doing what I'm doing, I should be able to do it perfectly by tomorrow. I need to sleep for now. The following day, a short man in a black cloak walked around with his head down in the streets of Konoha. Naruto was the short person, and he was looking for a store with cheap masks. His hair was hidden by the cloak, but his whiskers were not. He saw a lot of people wearing masks that covered their lower faces, so he didn't think it would be weird if he did the same. Why do masks cost so much? He had already found 2 places that sold the masks he wanted, but he couldn't buy them. He only had 100 ryo to spare, but even the cheapest mask for sale was more than 100 ryo. I need to make some money, but how? Look where you're going, kid. He ran into a civilian while he was thinking. Naruto jumped when he heard the loud voice of what he thought was a big man, but he didn't look up. If he did that, his face and whiskers would be shown. Sorry. Before the man could answer, Naruto ran off into the distance. Hey, don't run so fast. What's wrong with that kid? The man shook his head and went back to what he was doing. Naruto ran into an alley, looked around to make sure no one was nearby, and then took off his cloak. It was a sunny day, and that black cloak made him feel like he was on fire. Naruto wiped the sweat off his face and got up to leave. Isn't he? He heard a voice behind him all of a sudden. When Naruto looked back, he coughed. It was a ninja with a white mask that said nothing. When Naruto turned around, he had the feeling that winter had come. Oh no. He saw my face. When he looked through the holes in the white mask, he could see that the ninja's eyes were disgusted and mean. Sorry, sir. I'll go now. Naruto ran away from the ninja as he turned his back on him. I am stuck. But before he could move, he stopped in place. Sure, he was scared, but not so scared that he couldn't move. The ninja is doing this on purpose. I have to leave this place. Every cell in his body told him to run away, but he couldn't move. As the ninja said, HMPH, you want to run away? Not on my watch. Naruto saw him look up at the sky out of the corner of his eye. What makes him look up? It's my lucky day. The ANBU guards are switching shifts. The man then walked toward him. Naruto didn't want to answer the question. Hey, are you scared? He could tell by the ninja's tone and the way his eyes moved inside the mask that he was laughing. He could almost see the ninja's sadistic smile. My brother my younger brother was so scared that night. He watched our parents die while he dodged your claw by a hair's width. Hey, you monster, can you hear me? Do you know what fear feels like? Do you know what it's like to watch your family die in front of you while you can't do anything to save them? The ninja grabbed Naruto's jaw and forced him to look him in the eyes. The anger and hatred in those brown eyes made them look darker, almost black. I know you can hear me, even if you're inside that seal. This is my revenge for my brother. You heartless beast, do you know how traumatized my brother was because of you? He cried every second he was awake. He tried to kill himself every chance he got. Do you know how it feels to see the only person left in your life dead on the floor, holding a knife that went through his heart? Do you? Naruto felt pain. His jaw hurt, and so did his ears. But what hurt the most was his heart. I didn't do it. I have no idea about any of that. I'm sorry. Please, excuse me. He didn't do anything the ninja told him to do. Even though he didn't understand what most of the ninjas said, he could tell how the man felt. It seemed like magic. He had never seen a loved one die, but after hearing the man's story, he felt like his heart was going to explode. Slowly, tears came out of his eyes and down the white mask of the ninja. I'm sorry, was all Naruto could say. He was sorry for something he didn't know, but he was too scared to care. You're sorry. If you're sorry, make up for your mistakes. The ninja's hand suddenly lit up with a kunai, which he thrust into Naruto's heart. As soon as the kunai's blade touched me, I knew what it meant to be cruel. The kunai wasn't sharp, like if you tried to cut an onion with a dull knife. It hurt a lot. Every second felt like an age. Years went by in a flash. Every second that went by, I could feel the cold blade ripping my skin apart, like when a child pulls on a teddy bear's body and head at the same time, breaking it in half. I kept screaming, but it seemed like no one heard me. The people in the village didn't even look in the narrow alley. Then, maybe because my screams made him feel good, the ninja's hand moved more slowly, making the agonizing pain last longer. Soon, the cold blade got to my heart and cut through it. After that, there was nothing. I fell into the depths of my own mind. ROAR. Suddenly, a terrible roar could be heard all over Konoha. The air became dry, and chakra made it smell bad. The people stopped moving, and their minds went blank. For a moment, everything in Konoha was still and frozen, like a painting. Only one thing was on the minds of the people. Oh, the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi is attacking again. It's the Kyuubi. Son, my son, where are you? Where? Papa. After one person screamed out in fear, the rest of the people in the village did the same. And in an instant, the village was thrown into chaos. Some civilians passed out on the spot because they were so scared. Some people ran as quickly as they could. Some ran away to their homes. Help, stop. Please. Help me. Sob, mama. Sob. People ran in a stampede because they were scared. The weak would fall and be trampled, while the strong would run away without caring about the people they stepped on. It was the most selfish thing a person could do. Hiruzen's face turned down. After the bad chakra was let out, he jumped out of his chair and put on his battle armor right away. He was prepared to fight. Whoosh, sir. Dozens of NBU landed in front of Hiruzen one after the other, like angry bees that flew out of their hive. Everyone got on their knees to wait for his orders. Hiruzen asked, what's going on? Why is the Kyuubi's chakra going crazy in the village? After he finished his paperwork, he was enjoying his freedom. But then this happened. Sir, a root ninja made the Jinchuriki angry and tried to kill him, said an ANBU in the front. He doesn't need to say any more. Hiruzen knew everything from just that one sentence. Okay, follow me to where the Jinchuriki is. Tell all the Chunin and Genin to get the civilians out of the way. Tell the Jonin to guard the location of the Jinchuriki and wait for help. Understood, sir. Then they all turned into shadows and ran toward Naruto. Nine Tails, are you awake now? Well, whoosh. The wind blew hard around Naruto and the root ninja, but the root ninja didn't seem to care. As he watched the red chakra bubble over Naruto's body, his brown eyes lit up with joy. Even though the wind was blowing in his direction, he didn't bother to put any protection on. He didn't care about his own safety, so why would he care about the safety of the civilians around them? He never meant to kill Naruto. He just wanted the Kyuubi to show itself again. ROAAR. Ha ha ha. Crack. As the Kyuubi's chakra ate away at his mask, he laughed more and more. Naruto charged at the root ninja and punched him in the face as he glared at him. Bang. Splayik. In one attack, the man's head split open, his brain turned to mush, and his skull broke into pieces that splashed around him and stuck to the walls. Blood and guts were all over Naruto, but he didn't seem to care. ROAAR. Naruto roared at the root ninja's body when he saw that he had died in one move. The man's body was torn apart by the shockwave caused by his roar. The pieces fell all over his body, the ground, and the people around him. The blood monster. People who were covered in blood were shocked and scared, and their eyes grew wide. They didn't dare to breathe because they thought they would smell blood, and they didn't dare to talk because they thought they would taste the ground up human flesh and guts that covered their faces. ROAAR. Naruto yelled and turned his head to look at the people who had been left behind. When people saw Naruto's wild face that didn't fit his age, they all passed out at once. Kyuubi. Bang. Naruto was hit with a staff as hard as a diamond and pushed back before he could do anything else. Monkey King Enma. It was Hiruzen with his indestructible staff. Hiruzen's eyes got narrow when he saw the Kyuubi's chakra around Naruto. Seal the Kyuubi away. Force it back into the seal, Hiruzen said. Yes, sir. Sealing team number 1, follow me. Swoosh, swoosh. Before Naruto could do anything, 4 masked ANBU with scrolls as big as their bodies surrounded him. Fuin. The 4 ninjas opened their scrolls at the same time and yelled. Complex symbols crawled out of the scrolls and rushed toward Naruto. Naruto tried to jump away when he saw the sealing symbols rush toward his body, but he was just a second too late. He was already stuck because the seals had touched him. Monkey, I'll remember this. You're lucky. If only the seal wasn't so tight. After saying some bad words, Naruto passed out when seals covered his whole body. ANBU. When Hiruzen called out, 3 ANBU flashed up next to him and bowed. Sir. Bring Naruto back to his apartment, have someone watch over him, and don't let him leave. I get it, sir. An ANBU picked up Naruto's unconscious body as it flickered next to him and used the body flicker technique to bring him back to his apartment. After the ANBU left, Hiruzen rubbed his temple and stopped using his summoning technique. Sigh. ANBU Team 4, tell me what happened in detail. 4 ANBU lit up and kneeled next to Hiruzen. Yes, sir. Drip, drip, drip. When I opened my eyes, they felt itchy. What went wrong? I was thinking. When I looked around, I realized I wasn't where I thought I was. It was like a maze. The halls were full of pipes, some of which leaked water and some of which were just broken. There were a few ways I could go. I just walked into the closest hallway because I didn't know where he was or where the tunnels led. Where exactly am I? Is there anyone there? My voice rang through the halls. It didn't take me long to figure out that I was by myself. Am I dead? Step, step, step. I looked around for a long time. After a long time had passed, I thought about everything that happened before I passed out. I should be dead because the masked ninja stabbed me in the heart. Then my stomach started to feel like it was on fire. Is this the afterlife? It seems depressing. Maybe I was calm because I had already come to terms with the fact that I would die. I had nothing else to do, so I looked at my injuries. I took my shirt off. No one was hurt. There wasn't even a scar or blood near my chest, let alone a hole. On my stomach, there was only a spiraling sign. What is this strange sign? I kept walking while shaking my head in confusion. A symbol. I don't remember anyone putting a tattoo on my stomach. I stopped in my tracks. In my mind, I saw a book with a red cover. Flip, 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 flip. Then, the pages turned themselves, revealing crisp, new pages. I couldn't move my head because I couldn't take my eyes off the pages and the words on them. The words on the pages made me want to read them. Seals can be used to keep things and living things from getting out. In some cases, seals are used to seal a person or another living thing inside of another person. My eyes got very big in shock. Then, like a cruel joke, I saw a scene that reminded me of what I was trying to avoid. Hey, don't go near him. Please don't play with him. He's dangerous. Come on, let's go. You could only get hurt by that monster. Don't ever go near him again. He's not a person. Don't talk to him. Everything made sense. Everything began to make sense. Why the people in the town hated me. Why they didn't talk to me. That's not a tattoo. When I realized that it was a seal, tears came out of my eyes. Someone put something inside of me. Someone locked up the... I couldn't finish thinking that way. I won't accept that. Not a chance. No, no. The fourth Hokage beat the fox with 9 tails. He killed the fox with 9 tails. Splash. I fell to the floor because my knees felt weak. I got soaked when the water splashed, but I didn't care. Even though my eyes were filled with tears, I didn't care. I was only thinking about one thing. Why me? Arghhh. No one knew how long I screamed. When I finally calmed down, my eyes were swollen and my throat was dry. I had tears and snot all over my face, but I didn't care. When I looked around, I saw that the maze of pipes was no longer there. Now, the hallways were full of thorns and roots that smelled bad. I don't know when or how these thorns and roots showed up, but my instincts told me to stay away, telling me there was a problem. I sat down. I just stood up and saw that the water on the floor was gone. The ground was now rough, like the floor of a cave. I don't care if you're sealed inside me, Kyuubi, the 9-tailed fox. I have decided that from now on, no one will decide my fate. I will decide how I live and how I die. No one can tell me which road to take because I will make my own, even if it leads nowhere. Yesterday's Naruto is dead. I have been reborn. I will show the world that I am not a weakling who bows to the strong. I am Uzumaki Naruto, and I fight against fate and make my own destiny. Boom. Free eye. As I told myself in the world, the thorns and rotting roots in the hallways fell off, turned to dust, and merged with the floor. The ground moved, but I didn't fall. Even though the whole world was shaking, I didn't move at all. I was happy to see that the walls, ceiling, and floor were all turning into smooth steel. There was only one way to go through the hallways, and it led forward. I walked for 1 minute to get to a big room. The room was so big that a whole mountain could fit in it. There was a huge cage in the middle of the room, like the ones used to keep dogs, cats, and other pets. Inside the cage was a big fox with 9 tails, and as I walked, its eyes followed me. How? When I heard the voice, I turned around and looked at the fox. How did you do it? Then, the fox with 9 tails tried to stand up but couldn't. It couldn't stand up in the small cage. How could this be? The fox with 9 tails thought. Just a few minutes ago, he was in a huge cage and could move around all he wanted. The spaces between the cage bars were so big that his nails could fit through them. He couldn't even stand anymore. He could only lie down in the small cage. If you're here, then this place must be in my mind, I said. What do you call this place? The 9 tails replied, Humph. Why should I answer a weakling like you? But deep down, he was shocked and amazed at the same time. It wasn't unheard of to change the mindscape, but to do it so quickly. That just doesn't happen. He was also surprised that Naruto's spiritual power, which is also called his mind or mental energy, was strong enough to hold him back that he couldn't even stand. This is crazy. This willpower, this spiritual power is stronger than both Uzumaki Mido and Uzumaki Kushina put together. It makes me think of his son. You don't have to answer, I can hear what you're thinking. So this place is called the Mindscape. Ha, Naruto thought to himself as he looked around, ignoring the fox with wide eyes. What? Bang. When the 9 tails heard what Naruto said, they jumped up in surprise, but his body hit the cage instead, making a loud noise. Oh, how things have turned around. And who are Uzumaki Mido and Uzumaki Kushina? Naruto asked. Why, you can hear what I'm thinking. Answer me. After the 9-tailed fox ignored him, Naruto's face got cold and his voice got cold. He was grumpy today for some reason. You dare tell me what to do, you spoiled brat. The fox with 9 tails was confused and angry. If there was one thing it hated more than anything else, it was being told what to do by people it didn't know. Then I'll just make you say the right things. Naruto gave the fox a snort and spread his arms out so that his palm was facing the fox. Then he made a fist with his hand. Ling. Arg. Iron chains suddenly came out of the cage and wrapped around the 9-tailed fox's body, making it impossible for him to move even an inch. Boom, 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 boom. Then, 1 bar at a time, the cage fell down and melted into the steel floor, leaving only 10 iron pillars and 10 sets of chains holding the 9-tailed fox's tails and neck down. Roar. The Nine Tails pulled hard on the chains because they didn't think he would be held back by weak chains that didn't even have chakra. Clang, clang, clang. Now you have to decide, will you answer me or not? Naruto laughed at the fox as he saw that the Nine Tails couldn't get out of their chains. How can he hold me down so easily? The fox was now scared. He thought the chains were weak because they didn't have chakra, but he wasn't ready for how strong they were. You ask how? Didn't you tell yourself that this is my mindscape and I can change it however I want? You even said that my spiritual power is stronger than Uzumaki Mido and Uzumaki Kushina. I've never said anything. The Nine Tails yelled back, but he gritted his teeth in private. Damn, I forgot he could hear what I was thinking. I'll just go to sleep, whatever. Naruto frowned and waved his hands when he heard what the fox thought and saw him close his eyes. You think I'll let you? Crack, crack, kriak. All of a sudden, the room was filled with a sound like a metal pipe scraping against the floor. The chains that held the fox's nine tails started to glow red hot. Then spikes grew out of the chains and stuck the fox in the body. When the fox saw the spikes, he laughed. You think this hurts? I'm made up of chakra, so I don't feel physical pain unless you use chakra. When Naruto heard that, his eyes got smaller. Is that true? Thanks for letting me know. Fox, I'll be back soon, and I hope you can answer my questions then. I don't like putting you through unnecessary pain, since we're both in the same situation. Naruto's body disappeared from the mindscape after he said those words, and he woke up in the real world. Naruto knew he was back in his apartment as soon as he opened his eyes. He was sleeping on the ground without even a blanket to cushion him. Urgh. Naruto groaned because his whole body hurt. He tried to get up, but his body felt too heavy, so he finally gave up. He tried to move his chakra instead to learn how to control it. Huh? Naruto's face changed into one of surprise when he felt his chakra system. He saw that his chakra system had gotten better even though he hadn't done anything. Is it because of the chakra with the 9 tails? But in an instant, a cold splash of water put out his burning hope. His smile changed, and his eyes got darker. Why is it hard for me to control my chakra? From what he knew, something had to be stopping his chakra for this to happen. Even if a ninja had as much chakra as the gods, it shouldn't be hard to control. Even though being able to control chakra was different from having excellent chakra control. The point is that he shouldn't have any trouble moving his chakra around his body. It seemed like his chakra didn't want to be controlled by him. Stay put. There's a chakra from somewhere else in my chakra system. Is it the chakra of the fox? Are you trying to hurt me? No way. Naruto furrowed his brows and tried to get the chakra from the 9 tails out of his body. Drip, drip, drip. 1 hour later, his chin and nose were both wet. His clothes were as wet as if he had stood outside in the rain. His face was covered in a thick layer of sweat. Why doesn't it work? No matter how hard he tried, the chakra of the 9 tails kept mixing with his. Even after he got rid of all the chakra from the 9 tails, more kept coming out of the seal on his stomach. Is it because I am a Jinchuriki, or does it have to do with the seal? What if I put the chakra back where it came from? Wait, I think there was a way for a beginner to lock a seal. Naruto got up and took off his shirt, which he then threw on the floor. Plop. His wet shirt fell to the floor, and sweat ran out of it and wet the floor. Naruto winced when he saw the mess, but he quickly turned his attention to the seal on his stomach. When he woke up in his mindscape, he was able to see the seal on his stomach for the first time. Okay, let's give it a try. I don't know how to do the basics of sealing yet, but I already have a seal on me, so I should be able to do it. After closing his eyes, Naruto took all of the chakra from his 9 tails and put it in his stomach. Then, he put his right hand on his stomach and filled the seal with chakra. Fuin, lock, Seulai, GRR. Naruto was surprised when he felt pain in his stomach. He growled and tried to deal with the pain. The pain didn't last long, and the sizzling sound went away with it. Haha, it worked. It was easy to lock a seal. He just put the chakra from the 9 tails into the seal and then used his own chakra to block it, like putting tape over a hole in the wall. It was rough and simple, but it did the job. The only bad thing was that he had to keep recharging the chakra that was blocking the seal or else the seal would be broken. After a while of watching, Naruto was happy to see that the seal was no longer letting the chakra from the 9 tails out. Also, the seal could not be seen. Even though he couldn't see it, he could still feel it. Since I put the seal back on, I wonder how the fox is doing. On the other hand, inside the seal. Growl, that jerk. The lines of ink were all over the 9-tailed fox. The ink was made of chakra, and it went all the way around the body of the 9 tails. Every time the 9 tails moved, the ink would shake and change shape, but once the 9 tails stopped moving, the ink would go back to normal. If a seal master looked at it, they might think of a raft in the middle of the ocean that is just about holding on against the strong winds and rough waves. If it weren't for these damn chains, this weak seal wouldn't work on me. The chains Naruto made were still there because he didn't take them off. So, the nine-tailed fox couldn't break the seal that stopped his chakra from working. Away from the mindscape, Naruto felt like a fish in the ocean after he put the chakra from the nine tails back into the seal. Without the nine tails getting in the way, his chakra flowed so much better. My chakra shouldn't be giving me any more trouble. But it's best to check twice because you never know. So, Naruto carefully checked every part of his chakra system. Every part of his body that had chakra to be scanned was looked at. Naruto did this to make sure that all of the chakra from the nine tails was gone. My chakra system has improved quickly since the fox's chakra got into mine. Naruto was about to cut off his ability to sense things when he noticed something strange. After he looked at his whole body, he looked at the chakra in his head. He did find another source of foreign chakra. What is a chakra? It feels clean and warm, as if you were a child. When did this chakra come into my body? Naruto, who was confused, tried to get rid of the foreign chakra in his head. At first, it was the chakra of the Kyuubi. Now, my head has another chakra. What's next? That the chakras of my parents will be sealed in me. Naruto laughed at himself, making fun of his own ideas, not realizing that he was right on the mark. Naruto felt his feelings change as he worked to get rid of the foreign chakra in his head. The more he tried to get rid of the foreign chakra, the less clear his thoughts became. Does this chakra affect how I feel and what I think? As soon as Naruto thought of it that way, his face turned mean and ugly. This was the first time he hated someone so much. Is someone trying to take over my mind? Which jerk ... sigh. I just have to get rid of this chakra and everything will be fine. The village isn't what it seems to be. If someone is trying to change my mind, I can't change in front of the village, or the person trying to change my mind could put more chakra in my head. Naruto shook his head and went back to removing the chakra from his head. After 30 minutes, what's this chakra? Why is it so hard to get rid of? He had been sitting there for 30 minutes, trying his best to get rid of the foreign chakra, but it was not going away. If the Kyuubi's chakra was like a bunch of stones, this one is like a big rock. He can't even move it, so forget about getting rid of it. If I can't get rid of it, I'll just devour it. I don't think that such a small amount of chakra can protect my whole chakra system from being worn away. Naruto knew how to devour outside chakra into his body. Normally, the process would happen on its own as his chakra system cycled around his body. If he wanted to speed up the process, he would have to move his chakra around his body himself. The faster he could move his chakra around, the faster he could devour the foreign chakra. Unfortunately, you weren't really eating the foreign chakra, you were more like eroding it, so you wouldn't get any benefits. If the foreign chakra was harmless, most ninjas would choose to ignore it and let their body naturally break it down, since forcing the process would make them weak for the next few days. Naruto felt like he was on fire for the second time today. This time, he was thinking about it. It felt like his brain was being grilled, and the pain made his eyes red and swollen. But there was nothing he could do about it. Nearly. There. The foreign chakra fought back when it felt like it was being devoured. Naruto didn't think it would fight back, so he got distracted for a moment. He read 3 books, but none of them talked about this, so he wasn't ready. Still, the foreign chakra wasn't big enough. It was no match for the way he used his chakras. Done. Naruto opened his eyes with a smile of victory. Everything started spinning like a whirlpool on land. The ceiling and floor switched places, the table and chairs turned into a spiraling vortex, and even his body was upside down. Thud. Naruto passed out with a thud, but he didn't know that his chakra was changing inside of him. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of chains hitting each other everywhere in his mindscape woke up the fox who was sleeping in his cage. He woke this up too. Great. His willpower was bad enough, and now this. Father, are you punishing me? Unfortunately for him, no one was listening to his woes. Tick-tock, tick-tock. As the seconds went by, the hours went by quickly. Naruto was on the floor in the middle of the room, not moving. Sweat was dripping from every part of his body. Naruto's eyes popped open all of a sudden, revealing his wet, hazy lavender eyes. For some reason, tears ran down his blurry eyes, but he didn't seem to notice. As he tried to figure out what had happened, his thoughts were all over the place. Naruto fell asleep after the foreign chakra was taken out from deep inside his head. Naruto looked at the clock on the coffee-colored walls and saw that only a few hours had passed. Naruto didn't understand. Even though devouring foreign chakra into your body by force had consequences, he should only feel weak for a few days and not pass out. Did the chakra try to kill me as a last resort? Naruto felt uneasy. Naruto quickly scanned his entire chakra system with his eyes closed, but he didn't find anything strange. What went wrong? Naruto was really lost at this point. Naruto went into his mindscape because he didn't know what else could have happened to him. Naruto didn't know what to do when he saw the shocked fox. He would never in a million years have thought that the powerful and fearless Kyuubi no Yako could be scared. Naruto said, "Fox, tell me what happened." The fox was quiet for a while. When Naruto saw that the fox was thinking, he didn't refuse to answer. Instead, he gave the fox time to think. Even though he had enough willpower to tie up the nine-tailed fox, he couldn't get the fox to tell him what was in the tea. "Uzumaki Naruto, I want to make a deal with you." When Naruto heard the deep, majestic voice of the Nine Tails, he knew the situation was serious and gave a serious answer. "Okay, what do you want?" When the Nine Tails saw that Naruto took what he said seriously, he nodded his giant fox head. "The deal is simple. You can use my knowledge, but you can't tie me up with your chains." "Chains? But aren't you already bound by chains?" Naruto was taken aback. He used his willpower to put chains around the fox in his mindscape so it would behave. But now, the fox was asking to not be chained. How is this a play on words? These chains are different. You use your willpower to make them like ordinary ropes. I'm talking about your chakra chains. Chakra chains? Naruto thought for a while before he tried to call up the chakra chains that the Nine Tails had talked about. Based on the name of the technique, Naruto called on his chakra and focused on bringing chains into existence. As his chakra went in and out of his body, Naruto could feel his back getting hot and scratchy. It looked like his back was trying to sprout a new set of limbs. Clang, clang. Then Naruto felt the itch go away, as if someone had scratched his back, and he felt like he had just grown wings. When Naruto opened his eyes, which he had closed out of pleasure, he saw red chakra chains coming out of his back. Naruto asked, "Are these the chakra chains you're talking about?" When the Nine Tails saw the chakra chains, they didn't answer right away. Too many bad memories of those chains stayed with him. "Yes, then, I agree to the deal, but I need your chakra to help me train. I read that the tailed beasts want freedom very much. If you agree to my conditions, I will help you get your freedom back in the future." "You already know that I want to become a seal master," Naruto said. When the Nine Tails heard the idea, they thought for a while and then gave a nod. "Okay, I'll work with you, but remember the deal, you have to give me my freedom before you die. If I think you're breaking your part of the deal, I'll stop working with you," the Nine Tails said, trying to look scary by swinging his tails around but remembering that they were still chained. "Deal," Naruto said as he left his mindscape after making a deal with the giant nine-tailed fox. Naruto moved his chakra back in his room to call the red chakra chains. Clang, clang, clang. Wow, the chakra chains held his attention. He thought that saying it was a work of art would be an understatement. The chains were blood red with gold threads, just like his hair, which looked like a sunset. When light hit the chains, they sparkled, and when he turned off the lights, they shone. The chains were thin, about the thickness of a pencil, and when Naruto held it, it felt light. But he knew that it wasn't light at all. When he called up a chakra chain that was 3 feet long and dropped it on the floor, it broke the floor of his apartment. Great, now how do I explain that? Do I just say I tripped and fell so fast that the floor broke? No way, are you kidding me? Concrete was used to make the floor. While Naruto was worried about the broken floor tiles, an old man was rubbing his temples somewhere in an underground basement. He picked up the cane that was sitting on his lap and tapped it on the ground. Thud, swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As soon as his cane hit the ground, dozens of white masked ninjas appeared in front of him. Who did it? The old man was angry when he saw the whole root kneeling in front of him. For someone who said that emotions aren't important, he was acting in a way that didn't make sense. Lord Danzo, the new member of Root, whose code name was Yamu, stirred up trouble in the village and made I know. The Root ninja couldn't finish because his master cut him off. Danzo took a few deep breaths to calm down and thought. The original plan was to stop the ANBU guarding the Jinchuriki and let the civilians provoke him so that he would feel the evil of human nature. This would give me a chance to pull him into Root. But some meddling recruit had to ruin the plan by letting the Kyuubi's chakra out. Damn it, Hiruzen won't like this. Inside the Hokage Tower, Hiruzen looked at the kneeling ANBU in front of him and said, "So that's how it is. He is the leader of a NBU Team 4, and he just finished giving Hiruzen a report. Have your team call Shimura Danzo and bring him to my office," Hiruzen said in a firm voice that left no room for debate. The ANBU would never dare to disagree with their master. "Yes, sir." Then the 4 ANBU Team 4 members turned into shadows and were gone in an instant. In less than 10 minutes, ANBU Team 4 came back and told Hiruzen that Danzo was on his way. Hiruzen waved his hand and said, "Okay, you're free to go." He then waited for Danzo to arrive. Not long after he waited, he heard footsteps coming from outside the office. Ryuk. As soon as the door opened, Hiruzen said in a calm voice, Danzo, explain, but his eyes were as cold as ice. Hiruzen's tone was cold, so Danzo didn't directly answer. Instead, he looked around the office. Danzo secretly sighed with relief when he saw that they were alone and then sat down on a couch on the left side of the office. Danzo told Hiruzen, I have nothing to do with this. Danzo had known Hiruzen for a long time, so he knew that this time he would only get a warning because there were no ANBU or ninjas around. When Hiruzen heard Danzo's lame excuse, he wrinkled his brow and said, Oh, so that Root Ninja must be a spy. How dare a dog bark without permission? The corner of Danzo's mouth twitched, and he could feel cold sweat on his back. He shut his eyes tight. The words Hiruzen used were a threat. The dog was actually talking about him, not the Root Ninja, and the master was obviously Hiruzen. Hiruzen was basically asking Danzo how he already knew what he was going to say when he hadn't even said anything yet. Hiruzen, I really didn't have anything to do with this, Danzo insisted, even though there was a hidden threat. Yes, the Root recruit may have acted on his own. But from another point of view, the fact that Danzo let a recruit run wild in the village shows that his methods were getting sloppy. Hiruzen's eyes got smaller when he saw that Danzo didn't care about his threat. The room got cold all of a sudden, but the two old men didn't move an inch. Then, tell me why an unknown ninja picked up on the ANBU's routine. Hiruzen almost laughed when he said that. He knew that the Root Ninjas who stopped the ANBU guards were the ones who did it. He didn't care about this most of the time. After all, Danzo was a bad thing that he had to do. This time, though, the problem was too big, and it had to do with the village's tailed beast. Danzo's face was blank, as if he had nothing to do with the situation, and he said, then it must mean that the ANBU's methods aren't good enough. I think Root should take over as the Jinchuriki's guards. The full extent of Danzo's pride was shown. He had been free for too long, and now he was even brave enough to make fun of the Hokage's best ninjas. Hiruzen snorted after hearing Danzo's suggestion. No, after all, the Root division doesn't even know how to handle their recruits, so how can they guard the village's Jinchuriki? When Danzo heard that, his expression finally changed. He thought he could make fun of the ANBU, but no one could make fun of his Root. Even the Hokage can't. He was proud of Root. Hiruzen, be careful with your tone. Don't forget who the Hokage is, Danzo. That's it, you're out of here. Hiruzen narrowed his eyes and smiled. But his eyes were as cold as ice, so his smile didn't reach them. As Hokage, I should also help my subordinates, so I will send 3 teams of a NBU to watch over Root so that this doesn't happen again. It took Danzo 2 seconds to pick up his jaw, which had fallen to the floor. It took him another 2 seconds to figure out what a stupid thing Hiruzen had said. Imagine you were a king who lived like an emperor. Then another king came along and said, hey, I'll send my troops over to watch your troops, and you can't do anything about it. Danzo's hands were balled up into fists and shook with anger. He wanted to pierce Hiruzen's heart with a kunai, but he was too weak to do it. When Danzo went back to Root's hideout, he thought to himself, Hiruzen, you're getting old. If you think it's so easy to stop me from doing something, you're very wrong. I'll make you pay for this shame. Damn that Hiruzen. Shatter. When she threw a wine glass on the floor, it broke into hundreds of small pieces that made a thin layer of glass on the floor. Crack. Snap. As Danzo walked over the broken glass, he could hear the sharp sound of the glass being crushed under his sandals. After getting to his throne, Danzo sat down and looked at the broken glass on the floor without much thought. As time went on, Danzo could feel himself getting calmer. After he calmed down, he was finally happy and started making plans for the future while Hiruzen kept a close eye on him. I'll have to keep to myself for a year. Tisk. All those years of planning were like a bubble in the desert. They came and went quickly. I was almost able to get hold of the Jinchuriki. Danzo was a cruel and cold person. He would do whatever was necessary to get what he wanted. As soon as he found out what was going on with the Jinchuriki, he told everyone. He did this to bring Konoha together and make everyone hate one person. Once that happens, he will be the kind, experienced ninja who shows Naruto how to be wise and kind like an old man. The Jinchuriki would fall into his lap if everything went as planned. In the cruel and dishonest world of ninjas, nothing ever works out the way they plan. No, I still have a chance to beat the 9 tails, he said. If I remember right, he should be going to the academy soon. Danzo thought, a sinister smile spreading across his old face. Danzo tapped his cane twice on the floor to show that he was happy with the plan he had made. Then, in front of him, a Root ninja showed up. Watch the Jinchuriki and tell me everything. When he goes to the academy, find him a friend. He should be easy to control, so when the time comes, Danzo paused and smiled. He didn't finish his sentence, but the Root ninja didn't care. He bowed to Danzo to show that he understood the mission. Even though Hiruzen was keeping a close eye on him, he wasn't worried that Hiruzen would figure out what he was doing. Brute was better at killing people and spying, but Anbu was better at attacking from the front and setting up ambushes. Both have their good points and bad points, and Danzo wasn't afraid of being found because of what he planned to do. Danzo thought, Hiruzen, I'll make you pay for this shame. Hiruzen was getting tired of being watched all the time. He felt like a fool, even though Hiruzen's Anbu ninja wasn't very good at keeping track of him. That was what bothered him the most. It was like he had to act right because a child was watching him. It's too bad. Well, the Uchiha is still alive and doing well. I can get rid of his Anbu by making him focus on the Uchiha clan, Danzo thought. In the middle of a dimly lit room, a short, black-clad figure sat with an angry look on its face. He was holding an ink-covered brush, and everything around him was painted black, as if it had been burned. When he opened his eyes, his pale lavender eyes stood out against the black ink on his face, which made him frown even more. In front of him was an open scroll that was covered in ink. At the same time, the ink bottle he had just opened fell over, spilling all the ink inside. What? A disaster. Naruto had an idea. He was trying to make an explosive tag seal, but the ink suddenly blew up and went everywhere before he could write anything on the scroll. The first step in writing a seal was to infuse chakra into the ink. Without this step, the seal would just be a decoration without function. However, the moment his chakra touched the ink, it exploded like a water bomb, and now he was covered in ink. Not only that, the walls, floor, ceiling, the cabinet, the bed, everything was black, covered in ink. Taking off his shirt, Naruto sighed. His face was darker than charcoal thanks to the ink, but his body was still fair and delicate. The contrast was too hilarious to look at, but he couldn't laugh. There goes my first ink bottle. I thought it would last me for at least a week, never thought that it wouldn't last for even a day. Before the incident with the masked ninja happened, Naruto bought 3 bottles of ink, costing him everything he had. He planned to create some explosive tags to sell to earn his money back, but alas, he was too arrogant. Huo, I need more chakra control. Naruto put down the brush and closed the bottle of ink that was nearly empty. Every last drop counted at this point. Either way, such issues can be pushed at a later time. He was dying to take a bath. After he took a bath, Naruto first brushed his apartment clean, and as a result, the rug he used to wipe off the ink was now jet black, and his hands were covered in ink once again. When he finally finished cleaning, it was already dark outside and he decided to sleep first. When he awoke the next day, it was 6 a.m. and after eating breakfast, Naruto took out a brand new scroll and the bottle of ink from yesterday. There was still some leftover ink at the bottom of the bottle, and he wanted to use it for practice. Before that, I should train my chakra control so as to avoid the same problem from yesterday, Naruto thought, and pulled out a bag with 2 colored sand. Writing seals demands excellent chakra control. When I am able to separate the 2 colored sand from this bag, I should be ready to write seals. Clearing his mind of any unnecessary thoughts, Naruto set his focus on the chakra control exercise. It didn't take long for him to realize that the chakra control he was attempting was too advanced for his level. Then, he remembered something. They said that according to a person's chakra volume, the chakra control exercise will be different. The problem is, I don't know how much chakra I have. Facing such a problem, Naruto wanted to ask the Hokage for answers but then shook his head. I can't trust anyone, not even the Hokage or his ninjas. He still hadn't forgotten what the masked ninja did to him. If it weren't for the 9 tails inside of him, he would have been dead. I guess I can ask the 9 tails. Naruto closed his eyes and entered the mindscape. Fox, answer me. How much chakra do I have compared to the ninjas around the village? Having already anticipated Naruto's question from listening to his thoughts, the 9-tailed fox replied without a pause, you have an average Chunin's chakra. Okay, thanks. It's nothing. You don't have to enter the mindscape in the future, I can also hear your thoughts. You can just think about your questions and I'll answer them, the 9 tails replied. Oh, then that'll be helpful. Thank you, Fox. Naruto then left his mindscape and began to think of a training plan when a random question floated into his mind. Oh right, Fox, is my current chakra level good? He was only 4 years old, and after hearing that he had the chakra level of an average Chunin, Naruto couldn't help but wonder if it was good or bad. Inside his mind, he heard the fox snort. It's more than good. Normally, only 20-year-olds and above will have Chunin level chakra. The talented ones will have Chunin level chakra by the age of 10. And geniuses have Chunin level chakra earlier than 10. The 9 tails paused in contemplation before continuing. You, on the other hand, will have Jonin level chakra when you reach your 10th birthday. If you keep abusing my chakra to improve your chakra system, you might have beyond tailed beast level chakra by the time your chakra system matures. Tailed beast level? Naruto asked. He was ignorant of how the ninja system worked. He only knew that there were Genin, Chunin, Jonin, and the Cage of Villages. Basically, all Cage will have Cage level chakra, which is about equal to 10 Jonin. One Jonin will have a chakra level equal to around 10 Chunin. Of course, that's the simplified version and inaccurate. Let's not forget about Elite Chunin, Special Jonin, Elite Jonin, and Tailed Beast level. Tailed Beast level. A human can actually have as much chakra as a tailed beast. Naruto was shocked. This was the first time he heard of this. Let me tell you something about history. The noblest clans, the Hyuga, Uchiha, Senju, and Uzumaki have the largest chakra volumes compared to other clans. There are some exceptions, but let's ignore them for now. The Hyuga have the lowest chakra level among the four, but it's still nothing to scoff at. All adult Hyuga will have special Jonin's chakra, and that's without training. On the other hand, the Uchiha and the Senju clan have about the same chakra level, but thanks to the Sharingan, the Uchiha exhaust their chakra faster than the Senju, giving the illusion that the Senju have more chakra than the Uchiha. The Senju, while not having the Sharingan, have an excellent physique second only to the Uzumaki. An average Uchiha and Senju will have an elite Jonin's chakra level, while the more talented ones possess Cage level chakra. On the other hand, geniuses like Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama possess tailed beast chakra levels. The Nine Tails paused after describing the two legends in the ninja world. What about the Uzumaki? I'm also an Uzumaki, right? Yes, you are part of the Uzumaki clan. Your Uzumaki blood has been awakened already, so there's not much difference between you and a pure-blooded Uzumaki. The Uzumaki have many unique abilities that stem from their physique that they inherited from the Sage of Six Paths. The most well-known is the Chakra Chains, the one you have unlocked. It is used in junction with Sealing Jutsu, but it is mostly used to restrain chakra, and as Biju are masses of chakra, those chakra chains became the enemies of the tailed beasts. That was why I told you not to use them on me. Remembering the deal he made with the Nine Tails, Naruto nodded his head in realization. The most impressive about the Uzumaki clan is their chakra level. All adult Uzumaki will possess Cage level chakra, while the talented ones can easily attain tailed beast level chakra. Their only shortcoming is their unhinged personality. Ignoring the comment regarding the personalities of the Uzumaki clan for now, Naruto couldn't help but ask, "How much chakra do you have?" As if expecting the question, Naruto heard the Nine Tails chuckle. "I have more chakra than all the other tailed beasts combined." The Nine Tails said proudly, "Wow, that's really cool. You have a lot of chakra." Naruto was amazed, even though he only had a vague idea of how much chakra a tailed beast had. Since tailed beasts have more chakra than any human alive, he thought that a tailed beast must have more chakra than a cage. Since there were 9 tailed beasts and the 9 tails had more chakra than the other 8 combined, this means that at the very least, the 9 tails had as much chakra as 9 cage. The 9 tails is even more impressive when you think about how a tailed beast's chakra must be higher than what he thinks. Naruto had a sudden thought as he looked at the chakra powerhouse inside of him. How come you lost to the 4th Hokage if you have so much chakra? Naruto's head tilted in surprise. No matter how much he admired the 4th Hokage, he couldn't compare to the legendary 1st Hokage, especially since the 4th Hokage was from a normal family. Sigh. The problem is with the ninjutsu and other ninja techniques that you humans made. We tailed beasts are different from humans in the same way that spiders can make silk but humans can't, and humans can talk but spiders can't. The tailed beasts, who are pure chakra, can't use the ninjutsu and other techniques that you humans made. The 9 Tails stopped for a moment and thought back to when his father was alive. Ninjutsu didn't exist back then. Well, it was, but not as many people did it as they do now. For example, if I tried to use a clone jutsu, it wouldn't work because it's based on the human body and chakra system. Tailed beasts don't have chakra systems, and we don't have bodies like humans. We're just big lumps of chakra. When Naruto heard this, he rubbed his chin and said, "So that's how it is." But it looks like the 9 Tails still had more to say. Of course, we tailed beasts have come up with our own ways to use our chakra over the years. When I was young, I came up with a way to sense negative emotions, and when we realized we needed a way to protect ourselves and fight, we came up with the tailed beast bomb. When the 9 Tails were done talking, Naruto knew more. Before he talked to the 9-tailed fox, Naruto thought that you could use ninjutsu as long as you had chakra. He had no idea that the chakra of animals with tails was different from the chakra of humans. Well, I guess it should have been clear that our chakras would be different. One is a person, and the other is a huge beast. As always, the fox laughed when he heard what I was thinking. Okay, Fox, thank you. The Nine Tails did not say anything. Naruto realized he was talking to himself in his room after he finished talking to the fox. He could hear what the Nine Tails said and they could hear what he said. But how strange would it be if someone saw him talking to himself? He would be called crazy right away. I need to get into the habit of thinking before I speak. Naruto has spent his whole life putting everything he feels and thinks into words as soon as he feels or thinks it. But when the foreign chakra was taken out of Naruto's head, he felt like he was let out of a cage that had been holding him back. The first big change was that he began to question what other people said and did. Well, learning all of that is fine and all, but I still can't draw a single explosive tag seal. Naruto was huffing and puffing like a dog that had just run a marathon. He couldn't remember how many times in the last week he was covered in sweat, but he didn't care if he sweated enough to fill a whole pool. Every part of his body was happy about how well his training was going. He was learning how to control chakras at the moment. He stopped trying to write explosive tags after 3 days of failing to put chakra into the ink. Instead, he focused on learning how to control chakra, but he ran into a troublesome problem. When he was done with his chakra control training, he was always tired and sweating all over. Even though he hadn't moved at all during his chakra control exercises, he was sweating and felt like he had run for a week straight. The fox might know. Naruto went into his mindscape right away, without waiting. There, the fox was there to meet him. Again, he changed the way his mind worked. The fox was getting tired of him changing his mindscape, so he made him promise not to do it again. He thought that the real reason the fox didn't want him to change his mindscape for the 4th time was that he liked it the way it was. Now, the mindscape was an endless plain with grass and flowers covering the ground all around them. In the distance, there was a huge boulder. The seal was shown by a moat that surrounded the nine-tailed fox. Even if the nine-tailed fox wanted to, he couldn't cross the moat. The nine-tailed fox was surrounded by an invisible dome. Compared to his first 2 cages, the nine-tailed fox had a lot more freedom, but the seal was still moving around. Naruto would have to break the big rock behind him and the nine-tailed fox in order to break the seal. When he came, the nine-tailed fox woke up and opened his eyes to show his blood-red pupils. Then his powerful voice filled the mind. So, you finally asked me. It already took you too long. Don't worry, your current state is not dangerous or bad for your growth in the future. Your chakra system just started working a few months ago, on your 4th birthday. Your body isn't used to chakra yet, which is why you always feel tired when you use chakra. The Nine Tails went back to sleep after talking. The fox's actions made Naruto sweat, but he didn't wake up and he left the mindscape. Okay, Fox, thank you again. Naruto didn't complain about the fox's personality, even though it could be better. Even though they weren't really friends, it was nice to have someone with you all the time, especially for him, who hadn't had anyone with him since he was born. Perhaps we can be friends one day. After that, Naruto's day-to-day life didn't change much. He worked out, ate, and went to sleep. He couldn't leave because there was an ANBU in front of his door. He found out that their name was a NBU when a ninja greeted them as Sir. ANBU. He didn't like the idea that the Hokage sent the ANBU to keep him from leaving his apartment in the name of protection. He was only 4, but he didn't know as little as most 4-year-olds. He was learning to be a ninja, so he would grow up faster than most kids. Also, he had the mind of a wise fox inside of him. If he didn't grow up faster than other kids, people would laugh at him. He also noticed that after he got rid of the foreign chakra in his head, his mind was like that of a horse that just got its first taste of freedom. Back then, he was like a man looking for sweet water in a desert. He was looking for affection, love, and attention. Now, he was still a man in the desert who was thirsty and looking for sweet water. The water he was looking for this time was called knowledge. He was intelligent, very intelligent, but he didn't know enough to make the most of his intelligence. He wanted to go to the library to read books, but he couldn't even leave his house because the 3rd Hokage was protecting him. This made him very angry. Months turned into weeks, years turned into months. Seasons came and went as quickly as the breeze, and for a moment, it felt like last year had just ended. Since Naruto went crazy in Konoha, 6 years had passed. A boy with hair like the sunset walked around the streets of Konoha with his hands in his pockets. He had a lollipop in his mouth and his eyes were half closed as he watched the birds sing and fly. He thought about what it would be like to fly. He groaned. He could only sing, though. He couldn't fly. When he looked back at where he was walking, he smiled happily. There was no one on the street. Well, to be more precise, it was stuffed. The middle of the streets were empty, and people walked on the sides. They stayed away from him like the plague, as if they would die if they got close to him. They didn't do this out of love and respect, of course. They did this because they were scared and upset. Fear, yes. A month after his rampage, 6 years ago, he realized that the villagers' dislike for him had turned into hatred. Some of the villagers threw vegetables at him, and others threw bad eggs. At first, he thought it was a good way to practice dodging, but when a civilian threw a glass bottle at him, he lost his temper. "Get out of here, you wild beast," yelled a man with black hair and olive-colored eyes. He held the glass bottle tightly and aimed at Naruto, who was casually dodging the eggs and vegetables that were being thrown at him. The man then threw the bottle of glass at Naruto. Naruto didn't expect someone to throw a heavy glass bottle at him, so he wasn't able to avoid it. The bottle hit him in the head, and he fell to the ground. The villagers started throwing garbage at him right away, but it stopped almost immediately. Naruto lifted his head, which was covered in trash, and looked at the man who had thrown the glass bottle on his head. His blood-red eyes looked into the man's soul. Naruto ran up to the man and smashed the glass bottle on his head. He had picked up the bottle, which had somehow not broken. Bang! Shatter! When the bottle hit the man on the head, it broke, and a sharp piece of glass got stuck on his head and cut him, causing him to bleed. Help! Help! Stop! Naruto didn't stop. He beat the man to a bloody pulp with the sharp glass bottle. His body, which used to be strong, was now covered in blood and broken glass. He had tears and snot all over his face. Halt! Before Naruto could do anything else, the Uchiha police came and took Naruto away from the man who was bleeding. The man was then taken away by the ANBU. As soon as the man left, everyone turned their attention to Naruto. The Uchiha looked down on him, but the villagers were afraid of him. After that, no one dared to mess with him again. The people moved out of his way. When he went into their shops, they shook and gave him the best deal they could. Naruto was happy with the outcome and quickly forgot about the man. Naruto got to a forest while singing a song. The forest was inside the walls of Konoha, but it was big. The Forest of Death was the opposite of this forest. It was on the left side of the village, but no one knew what it was called. Even though the forest wasn't very deep and you could see the walls after a few hundred meters, Naruto was happy with this forest. He had to make do with what he had because he couldn't leave the village walls. Naruto bent over a spot under a tree and used his chakra on the soil there. Poof! With a puff of smoke, a black bag came into view. Clang! As he picked it up, the sound of metal hitting metal filled his ears. Naruto untied the bag and nodded when he saw a dozen kunai waiting for him inside. A closed scroll was also in the bag, along with the kunai knives. Naruto didn't bother with it when he saw that it was left alone. He didn't even touch it, and he didn't touch any of the dozen kunai either. Instead, he used chakra to pick up the dozen kunai. After I finish my warm-up, I should sharpen these. He didn't grab the kunai knives by hand because they were tied to the scroll that hadn't been opened yet. If he used chakra, the connection between the kunai and the scroll would break, and the scroll would be safe to pick up. If he didn't use chakra, the scroll would go off and blow him to pieces. The tag on the scroll was a big bomb. Giant in comparison to other explosive tags, at least. The formula for the explosive tag seal was changed on the whole scroll. He gave it the name Explosive Scroll Seal, which was pretty creative. It is 100 times more dangerous than a regular explosive tag. If a cage opened the scroll without thinking, they would die unless they had the body of a god. It's too bad that making an explosive scroll seal takes weeks or even months, and the chance of success isn't even 10%. Naruto let out a sigh and shut the bag. When Naruto looked around, he saw 12 red dots drawn on a tree in the forest. Those red dots were another way he came up with to make seals. He called them target seals. As the name suggests, they are meant for target practice. When a kunai, senbon, shuriken, or other projectile hits the target seal, it will release the multicolored powder that Naruto made. Sand makes up most of the powder. Naruto counted the red dots on the trees that were the size of bees. 7, Naruto said, grinning. Only 7 of the 12 target seals could be seen, so the other 5 must be hidden behind trees, rocks, or other things in the forest. Naruto leaped, and it looked like he flew a few meters in the air. Then, as if a dancing spirit had taken over his body, it turned and twisted in the air, defying gravity. Swoosh, whoosh, clang, 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 clang. Naruto let go of a dozen kunai knives at the same time. At first, it looked like none of the 12 kunai would hit the target seals, but then, as if a ghost were behind the kunai, they all hit each other and changed directions. Naruto frowned and shook his head when he touched down. Tisk, I only heard 10 target seals. The different colored sand that stuck to the kunai knives showed that 7 of the visible target seals around him were hit. After getting the 7 kunai knives, Naruto went around the forest and got the other 3 that hit the target seals. The other 2 that didn't go off were just a few centimeters below or above the target seal, so they didn't hit it. Naruto took those 2 kunai knives out of the black bag and put them back in. He made a note in his head to sharpen them before he left the forest. Naruto didn't stop moving deeper into the forest until he reached an open area where the sun was shining. In the middle of the open area was a big rock that he could sit on. When he was 6, he put that boulder there, which was not a pleasant experience. As he sat on the rock, Naruto pulled up his shirt to show the bandage around his waist. He wasn't hurt, and the bandage was just a way to store something. Naruto took a book out of the storage scroll by tapping it and putting chakra into it. The cover of the book was orange and had 9 black stripes that wrapped around it. It didn't take a genius to figure out that this book was about 9 tails. The story in the book was about a young soul who watched over the whole world. While hidden in the darkness, the young soul kept the world safe. The young soul gave up everything it had to stop war from bringing darkness to the world. Naruto had not finished the book yet, and he had no plans to do so soon. He could have finished the book in 1 day since he was a ninja and could write faster than any other author, but he didn't. Instead, he planned to take months or even years to write this story. It's one of the things he does to pass the time, especially when his routine life is making him feel stressed or tired. He was a real person and not some kind of machine. Even if it's just for a day or 2 every year, he needs to rest too. Scribble. Naruto got lost in the world of his book as the hours went by. He thought about each scene he wrote for a long time. He would imagine the scene he wanted to write about, and then he would try to live in that world before putting it on paper. He wouldn't be able to finish the book too quickly this way. When Naruto lifted his head, he saw that the sky was red. The clouds had moved away, and the sun was slowly going down into the ground below. It was getting close to dusk. Clap, clap. Naruto closed the book with a happy smile on his face and a happy clap of his hands. Snap. Naruto pulled up his shirt and sent chakra into the storage seal on his waist, where he put the book. After making sure the book was put away correctly, Naruto stood up and brushed off the dust that had gathered on his body. As he was getting ready to leave the forest, his ears started to move. Naruto has been using the chakra from the 9 tails to improve his body for 6 years, and now he can hear sounds hundreds of meters away. Is there someone in the woods? After he moved into this part of the forest, nobody ever went near it again. They talked about the demon's lair and other similar things, but he didn't care one bit about what the civilians were saying quietly behind his back. What mattered to him was that no one, not even ninjas, bothered him. It's not that ninjas didn't like him. Well, most of them do, but those who didn't respect him by staying far away from him. In the end, he was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. He kept them safe by hiding the 9 tails inside his body, so those few ninjas respected him. They were in the minority, which was a shame. He became suspicious when he heard someone nearby. Without giving it a second thought, Naruto closed his eyes and turned on his senses. Even though he could hear sounds from far away, the sounds he heard were at best muffled. Chakra sensing was still the best way to get information about other people. Is it all ready? A masked ninja asked. He was tall and had brown hair. He had on a cloak that covered his whole body and left only his head out in the open. The lower part of his face was hidden by his mask, but his cold brown eyes were still visible. Yes, everything is ready. Remember the task, and don't hurt the target. Lord Orochimaru won't forgive you if you hurt the target. Another ninja in a mask spoke up. This one was short and had blonde hair. He wore a cloak that wasn't too different from the one the first ninja wore. He, too, had a mask on that covered most of his face. Understood, said the ninja with brown hair. The blonde ninja in a mask said, good. We have to move quickly because our presence here is not welcome. It's only because of Lord Danzo that we can sneak into the village without being seen. I know. Then their bodies turned into black shadows that moved quickly toward Naruto. Naruto frowned when he could tell that they were coming toward him. He couldn't hear them talking, and he didn't even know they were talking, but he could feel what they were trying to say. Am I their target? Who the hell would want to target me? I don't think I offended anyone, except the villagers. No matter how hard Naruto tried, he couldn't think of anyone who would want anything to do with him. Oh well, based on their chakra level, they're only Chunins. My chakra is already at the Jonin level, but I don't think I can win a fair fight even with that advantage. With his Uzumaki bloodline and the chakra from the 9 tails, Naruto's chakra had been at the Jonin level for a long time. Even so, he never got into a fight with anyone. Also, no ninja would train with him, so his taijutsu was at best just above average. Even the fox in his stomach didn't help. The fox fought like you would expect a giant fox with 9 tails to fight. So, even though his enemy only had Chunin level chakra, their experience and fighting skills were also Chunin level, while he only had Jonin level chakra. Aside from his sealing technique and his ability to throw kunai, the rest of his skills were barely above Genin level. I need to set some traps. Naruto took out a brush and a bottle of ink and got to work. After opening the ink bottle's lid, he put chakra into the brush and then dipped the brush, which was full of chakra, into the ink. The ink made the brush look like it was alive. When Naruto saw this, he gave a satisfied nod. Naruto got on his knees and wrote a seal on the ground. Strangely, the soil did not soak up the ink. The grass didn't even bother Naruto. When his brush touched the grass blades, they were like popcorn that flew away. Naruto could write seals on any surface when he reached level 3 as a seal master. Fuin, the Earth Coffin Seal. Naruto came up with the Earth Coffin Seal on his own. Like its name says, the seal would bury the target. It was useful for catching the opponent, but only if the opponent stepped on the seal. If not, it was just a pretty thing to look at. If the Earth Coffin Seal doesn't work, I'll have to think quickly and make a new seal on the spot. If I don't fight them with taijutsu, I'll have no choice. What else can I do? Naruto thought for a few seconds, stroking the brush on his palm, before he came up with an idea. Naruto dipped the brush into the bottle of ink and then drew a seal on the trees nearby. Fuin, Erosion Seal. Fuin, Erosion Seal. Fuin. After drawing seals on as many trees as he could, Naruto waited in front of the first seal, the Earth Coffin Seal, to lure the masked ninjas who wanted to hurt him. He took an apple and sat on the ground while waiting to make the other person less alert. Crunch, crunch, swoosh, swoosh. After Naruto had eaten a few more bites, 2 masked ninjas appeared in front of him. Naruto did his job by pretending to be surprised. The one with brown hair asked, "Is he the target?" The blonde ninja nodded her head and said, "Yeah." "Who are you?" Naruto yelled before the blonde ninja could say yes. "TCH, noisy." The blonde ninja laughed and looked over at his partner. When Naruto saw this, he looked down and saw that they had skipped the Earth Coffin Seal. He groaned to himself, but he still played his part. "Oh well, I guess I shouldn't talk to the dead." Fuin, activate. When Naruto looked down, the 2 masked ninjas saw it, and as soon as Naruto broke the seal, they jumped up. When Naruto saw the 2 masked ninjas jump up, he took 6 kunai out of the scroll on his waist and threw them above the 2. When the kunai hit the 2 masked ninjas, they were shocked and laughed. Clang, but all of a sudden, the 6 kunai behind the 2 masked ninjas turned around and flew toward them. What? How? The 2 masked ninjas had no time to react, so they turned around and raised their arms to block the kunai. Puck, puck, puck. When the 2 ninjas landed, both of their arms were red and had 3 kunai stuck in them. They were about to rush Naruto as they glared at him, but kriok, boom. Before the 2 ninjas could look around, 7 trees fell on top of them and crushed their bodies. The area was covered in dust, which made it hard to see, but Naruto had his eyes closed. He could feel the faint chakra signals coming from under those huge trees. Only 3 of the trees fell on Naruto and the 2 ninjas. The rest fell on trees nearby or in the opposite direction of Naruto and the 2 ninjas. When he got to where the 2 ninjas were hit by the falling trees, he opened his eyes and saw blood all over the ground. Even though blood was still coming out of their bodies, it was no longer possible to tell who they were. When he yelled to activate the seal below the 2 ninjas, it was just a distraction. Yes, the Earth Coffin Seal went off, but that wasn't what Naruto had in mind. He turned on the erosion seals in addition to the Earth Coffin Seal. A few seconds after the erosion seals were put in place, the trees around them lost a big piece of their trunks and fell over like giants. He threw 6 kunai at the 2 ninjas to lead them to the best place to get crushed. Fuin, Storage Seal. The boy with hair the color of a sunset was crouched on the ground in a forest near the gates of Konoha. A scroll was under him. To be exact, it's a storage scroll. At the moment, the storage scroll was sucking up all the blood and meat goo from under a tree. After 3 minutes, all of the blood was gone. Only a small amount was left on the ground, but it was covered by the fallen trees or tall grass. As Naruto stood up, he saw a broken boulder not too far away from where he was. When Naruto saw the broken boulder, he looked away for a moment and then shook his head. That boulder was there for 4 years, and I didn't think it would be gone in a second. He had grown attached to the broken pieces of the stone boulder. He always came here when he needed peace and quiet, after all. After bowing to the rock for a minute, Naruto left the forest without a sound. His face got colder and colder as he got closer and closer to the edge of the forest. If you didn't know better, you might think that a person's head was made of ice. He is deep in thought right now. Naruto sighed. I'm inside the village, though I'm on the edge. I'm still inside the village walls, though, and I was attacked by unknown ninjas. As expected, the village isn't safe. Both the front and the back are dangerous. That Danzo guy is over there. I think he is in charge of those Root ninjas. Naruto had talked to Root a lot in the past. Most of the time, Root would pretend to be normal people to mess with him. He got back at them by throwing things at them and beating them until they were bloody. The disguised Root couldn't fight back, so the other Root had to save him. He was, after all, dressed up. He knew that the root hid themselves by using a tool called the nine-tailed fox, which is an emotional radar. He was told by the fox that those root ninjas were as thick as logs. The fox said that they were so sad that they were like rotting logs. As for how Naruto knew who Danzo was, well, that's all there was to it. A guess. He was provoked by root so many times that he couldn't even count how many times he beat them up. He figured that the only person who would be corrupt enough to let enemy ninjas into the village would be the leader of the disgusting group called Root. There's also Orochimaru, who is known as the Snake Sannin and is one of the 3 legendary ninjas. What a muddle. It's like a group of cockroaches running around and trying to eat a dead tree. Naruto ran to his apartment while thinking of different ways to keep himself safe. You must make plans to leave this damned village. To do that, I need to find gaps in the schedule for patrolling the village wall. Unfortunately, both Root and the Hokages A and BU are watching over me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Naruto ran into this problem 2 years ago, but he still hadn't come up with a good solution. He could try to keep his chakra under control and sneak close to the village walls, but that was too dangerous. He suddenly thought about the dead Chunin that he had killed earlier. It was his first time killing someone. In fact, he had never killed anything before. He could cook with meat or fish, but the animals were already dead. Also, killing animals wouldn't be as bad as killing a person, even if he did it. He didn't think that after his first kill, he wouldn't have any problems. In fact, the sight of blood made him feel great. He seemed to get excited whenever he saw blood, as if something inside him liked it. Even his adamantine chakra chains, which were part of his Kekkei Genkai, reacted, and he almost let them go. If he had, he would have been shocked, but he didn't, which is too bad. He had almost forgotten about them, to be honest. He couldn't control them well enough, and his techniques for sealing don't need the chakra chains yet. Wow, I didn't think I'd stir up so much interest, Naruto said with a laugh as he thought about all the red-haired crazy people he had seen in his long life. Talking about blood, I can't believe those Chunins died so easily. Because they were not paying attention, they were killed. Naruto shook his head when he thought about his fight with the 2 Chunins. He wasn't upset about the 2 Chunins. Instead, he was upset that he didn't have a better way to defend himself against sneak attacks. I may have the resources to properly defend against surprise attacks, but that doesn't mean I know how to use those resources to defend against surprise attacks or other trump cards. He was too young and had too little experience to reach his full potential. Just like a baby can't write even if it has a pencil, and a ninja can't make jutsu even if they have the chakra. He grew up in a greenhouse like a flower because the outside world was too dangerous for him. Naruto put his thoughts of betrayal aside and pulled out a 10 inches long scroll with a 2 inches diameter. From now on, I have to put everything I own in a scroll. So, if I need to leave the village, I won't have to think about it. Aside from that, I need to change the formula for the storage seal. Naruto went to sleep, happy with his plan. He had to get up early tomorrow to go to school. Even though Naruto doesn't understand why there is an academy in the first place, he has to go to class, even though he was the last one to sign up. He was last because he didn't do anything in the academy. In fact, his grades were blank. He didn't mind the idea of an academy, but he didn't like that the academy didn't teach more useful skills. Theory is important, but what will genin do if they don't know how to do things in real life? He couldn't believe it when he found out that the academy didn't teach how to control chakra. Naruto was also interested in other Kekkei Genkai. He wanted to get stronger by gaining experience, but he was also interested in other Kekkei Genkai. Having a Kekkei Genkai is, of course, one of the fastest ways to get stronger. Naruto was especially interested in the techniques of the Hyuga and Uchiha clans. I want to see if I can use both dojutsus at the same time. Naruto has 2 goals at the academy. The only target for the Uchiha clan's Sharingan is Uchiha Sasuke, who is the only other Uchiha besides his brother, Uchiha Itachi. Naruto became friends with Uchiha Sasuke after beating him in a fight, but he was sad when he found out that Sasuke hadn't been able to use his Sharingan yet. In the end, he turned his attention to Hyuga Hinata, his second target. Naruto had to choose Hinata as his Byakugan target because the Hyuga clan's branch family had the cage bird seal, which means he can't study their Byakugan. On the other hand, the main family's other Hyuga were either too strong or had a lot of guards around them. Only Hinata didn't have a guard. Naruto knew there was something strange about this. He thought that Hinata's own clan was being unfair to her, but he didn't care. He knew that Hinata liked him. He thought it was interesting that Hinata treated other people with pride and grace while also being kind. But when it came to him, she was as shy as a child who was caught in the act of eating chocolate. Naruto sometimes felt bad about his secret plans to take her away. but he told himself that guilt had no place in the world of ninjas. After all, making new ways to seal things takes a lot of research. Also, the research he was interested in is Kekkei Genkai, which means it is impossible to avoid testing on people. He was determined to harden his heart and become cold-hearted if it would help him come up with more ways to seal. Sorry, Hinata. I hope it's okay to poke around your eyes. I promise to put them to good use. Naruto had already made a seal that would let him take Hinata or anyone else hostage. He called it living body imprisonment. In simple terms, it was a change storage seal. The living body imprisonment seal, on the other hand, can keep life alive. It wasn't done yet, which was a shame. The seal will be ready to use once Naruto figures out how to keep the person inside it alive. Naruto started working on this project a year ago, so his progress was slow. If I could speed up my research, that would be great. I wonder if there is a jutsu that can speed up the speed at which the brain thinks. The last thing Naruto had to figure out before the seal could be used was how to keep the target alive when he sends them into the seal, and when he takes them out. When an item is put into a storage seal, it is sent to a different space inside the seal. The living body imprisonment is a change storage seal that sends living things instead of objects into a separate pocket dimension. The problem is that a living person would die if they went into that pocket dimension. Naruto used seals big enough for humans to make a pocket dimension that took 3 months to make. He spent the rest of the year trying to find a way to keep the person alive inside the seal, but he couldn't. It would be great if Mom and Dad were here. I don't think they don't know how to solve this since they are both seal masters. Naruto found out who his parents were and what they did to make sure he lived after he talked to the Nine Tails. The Nine Tails say that his father, Minato, sealed the Nine Tails into him to keep the world's balance. But he thought the story was wrong because he was Minato's son. As Minato's son, he thought that his father had given him the Nine Tails because he liked him. Minato wanted his son to be strong and unique, so he sealed Naruto's Nine Tails inside him. So Naruto never hated his father because that's how he thought about everything. Sigh. Those two have failed. A tall, black-haired man who was licking his lips asked. He had golden eyes that looked like snakes, and a purple mark that went from his eyes to the sides of his nose. Yes, Master Orochimaru, they did. Orochimaru of the Snake Sannin was the tall man, and the person who spoke to him had white hair and round glasses. It was Orochimaru's right-hand man, Yakashi Kabuto. It doesn't matter. They are just chunin, so the results should have been expected. But Naruto's academy results are as clean as a sheet of paper, so I didn't expect him to beat those 2 chunin fodder. Kabuto, send another 2 ninjas, but this time send 2 jonins. Yes, master. Orochimaru opened the scroll he was working on when Kabuto left the room. On the scroll, to the far right, it said, Mysteries of the Uzumaki. When he first lost control of the Kyuubi's chakra, he became interested in Uzumaki Naruto. He didn't know who the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki was before, but he does now. He thought, it's another Uzumaki. He didn't think much of it at first, but when he found out that his subordinate, Uzumaki Karin, could make seals that he couldn't, he was surprised. Orochimaru found out after a few tests that Karin didn't care about sealing techniques and wasn't very good at them. Karin was more of a scientist than a sealing master, so Orochimaru stopped looking at her. He turned his attention instead to the other Uzumaki he knew. Uzumaki Naruto. Only Naruto was stronger than he thought, so his experiments had to be put on hold for a little while. It doesn't matter, Uzumaki Naruto. I'll get you sooner or later. With the Uzumaki's sealing techniques, my own sealing techniques should go to a higher level. The cursed seal that made Orochimaru almost immortal was based on sealing techniques. But something went wrong. Every time he moved into a new body, his soul got weaker. He wanted to get rid of this problem as soon as possible, so he turned his attention to the sealing techniques of the Uzumaki clan. He thought that if he could find out how the Uzumaki clan sealed things, he would be able to get rid of his weakness. This was because his defense against Genjutsu was weaker the weaker his soul was. This was clear when Uchiha Itachi had no trouble putting him under Genjutsu. This wasn't the only time he met someone who was good at Genjutsu. When he was walking around his village one day, he met a Genjutsu using spy at the Jonin level. If it weren't for Kabuto, he would have been fooled by the spy's Genjutsu and told on his own village. This made him determined to find a way to deal with his weakness.
This was it for today. I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weep offline.